Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I have another review for you today, and unlike as has been the case for like the last month or two, this is technically not a late one, as I only reviewed this a couple of days ago and I only saw it a couple of days ago, so I'm actually on time with a review for once, so let's jump into it. Ride Like a Girl is a 2019 Australian biographical drama film directed by Rachel Griffiths in her feature film directorial debut and written by Andrew Knight and Elise McCready. The film is the story of Michelle Payne, the first female jockey to win the Melbourne Cup. Ride Like a Girl was a September film for the Flicks with the Chicks event at my cinema, and it's not only another slam dunk in their film choices, but another slam dunk when it comes to their Australian film choices. For context, I should explain what the Melbourne Cup is to those who don't know. The Melbourne Cup is Australia's most famous annual thoroughbred horse race. It's a 3,200 metre race and is part of the Melbourne Spring Racing Carnival, which is a huge event that takes place every November, so that means it's right around the corner. People come from all over to attend, they dress to the nines, and many even have little gatherings at their home to watch the racing or take bets. The event began in 1861 and has been going for 158 years. This film is not about the history of the Melbourne Cup, but it is about one of the greatest moments in Melbourne Cup history. The film tells us the story of Michelle Payne, who in 2015 became the first and to this day the only female jockey to win the Melbourne Cup. In 158 years, only one woman has won, with so many up until then being certain a woman would never win, and this woman, against all the odds, proved them wrong. Payne grew up as the youngest of 10 children, raised by her widowed father as her mother died when she was just 6 months old. This film takes us on a journey of her life, with Teresa Palmer doing a brilliant and respectful job portraying Michelle Payne and her life. I love that Palmer played Michelle in her teens, 20s and even 30s, as Payne was 30 when she won the Melbourne Cup. The film showed us so much of Payne's life and showed us how from the moment she was old enough to talk, she dreamt of winning the Melbourne Cup. She was raised around horses and was the 8th of her siblings to become a jockey. This sport is in her blood. She would eat, sleep and breathe this sport. This film would very naturally combine real life footage of Payne and her family and events in her life and blend it with the film's depiction of events, and sometimes that can be cheesy, but the way this film did it was superb. It was inspiring to see footage of a 7-year-old girl say she was going to win the Melbourne Cup and 20 years later went and did it. I was extremely emotional and fighting back tears for the entire film. We follow the story of a woman who overcame so much in an attempt to achieve her goals. She overcame prejudice because of her gender. She overcame her own family not having faith in her, partly out of fear because one of her siblings had passed away in a riding accident. She even overcame injury. In 2001, she had a fall, fractured her skull and bruised her brain. She had to learn to walk, talk and read all over again, but she persevered. She literally got back on the horse. Payne suffered many more injuries throughout her career, 16 broken bones, but it didn't stop her. This is a film about not letting anything stand in the way of your dreams. I know nothing about horse racing and I've honestly never been that interested in it, but this film was eye-opening. I learned so much is involved in becoming a jockey, the level of training, just what it takes to participate in this sport. There are real techniques and real ways to achieve a win, and I never knew any of that. So I feel very privileged to have been able to see a film that, in showing us this woman's rise to infamy, at the same time is able to teach us about an entire sport, an entire industry and a long-standing historical event in not just my country but in my city. As a Melbourneian, I should have some understanding, but I didn't, and that's something I appreciate in this film. It's so well written and depicted and performed that as you're learning, you begin to take a genuine interest and you want to learn more. And then the more you understand, the more enriching the experience becomes. This has such a terrific cast. You could not have selected a better set of actors for this film. It was all so perfect. I love Sam Neill playing Michelle's father. He and Palmer had fantastic chemistry together that they genuinely felt like father and daughter. It wasn't a story about him, but I love how he's included in the film because he and his relationship with his daughter are significant factors in who Michelle is. We see so many familiar Australian faces, and even Sullivan Stapleton appears in this film, blending in so well. I love seeing Australian actors who do get to move on to do better things in Hollywood still return to do Australian projects like this. It's nice to see they haven't forgotten where they come from. Rachel Griffiths absolutely 100% freaking nailed this film. Her feature directorial debut has been hit out of the park. The camera work in this film is fantastic. There are some absolutely beautiful shots in this film, but I love how the camera zooms in so tight during the racing scenes. You're so close to the horses that you feel that intensity of what it must be like to be a jockey at that moment, and it was so intense it was scary. You realize how dangerous this sport is, and these shots were so claustrophobic. It was incredible how well they captured these moments. They were jaw-dropping. This film is so beautiful and emotional, and above all, inspiring. That's the best word to describe it. It is an all-out inspiring film. To see someone fight so hard for their dreams and get it, and to know that it's not a made-up story, is terrific. Without trying too hard, I think this film also sheds considerable light on what a chauvinistic sport horse racing is, and those are Payne's words, not mine. No one wanted to take a chance on her, not because she wasn't skilled, but because she was a woman, and a woman was so out of their realm of thought or consideration. Payne was the 4th woman ever to get to ride in the Melbourne Cup. She was racing at 100-to-1 odds. Those are long odds, and so many people were so convinced she wouldn't win. They weren't even prepared for the possibility that when it came to the speechmakers after her race, no one had anything prepared, because everything they had prepared was centered around the jockey being a male. So everyone, including the Governor General, was left floundering around showing what idiots they were, because they could never have imagined a woman winning. It was such a historical moment, and I love that this film captures that moment, and in doing so is reminding people that we've come a long way, but we've still got a long way to go. And I hope this film inspires the next Michelle Payne. Another thing I loved about this film was its inclusion of Payne's relationship with her brother Stevie. Stevie Payne was the 9th born in her family and was born with Down syndrome. The two have been the best of friends their entire lives, both growing up around horses. Stevie even became her strapper. He would groom and saddle and tend to the horses, and she would comment on how happy she was he got to experience her win with her. In the film, they didn't just hire some person or actor with Down syndrome to play Stevie, they actually got Michelle's brother Stevie to represent himself. And I can see why. He is so joyful and supportive and so genuine, and having him be in a film about his sister, his family, and his sister's big win, and getting to be part of telling the world her story, I think is incredibly beautiful, and I just loved him in this film. He was the never-ending ray of sunshine in each scene he was in. It was amazing to learn that they cast the real person in this film, because I did not expect that. I was intrigued by this film, but I had no idea I would love it as much as I did. It was emotional, powerful, uplifting, and inspiring. Our cast did a terrific job of bringing these people and their stories to life, and Griffiths has shown some incredible directing skills. It makes me very excited as a film lover at the prospect of seeing future directing work from her. I couldn't have imagined I would walk away loving a film about horse racing as much as I did, but I did, and I highly recommend anyone and everyone to go and see this film. It's crazy. I spent so many years having such a strong dislike of Australian films. Maybe it's just there was a time period where maybe they just weren't good, or in my opinion they weren't good, but something has shifted, and suddenly I'm in a place where I'm really enjoying the films that are coming out of my country, and you know, some are biographical, some are just fun, and there have been a couple of period pieces. I love that my cinema for Flicks with the Chicks events is choosing to promote these films that are from our country. I think that is so great, but it's also even better that they're good. They're good. I'm enjoying them. I'm loving them. Bring on the next one. If you are not Australian, then chances are you have not heard of or seen this film, but if it does come out in your country, maybe check it out, and if you do end up seeing it, please let me know what you think about it. If you are Australian, go and see this film. If you have seen this film, then comment below, tell me what you think about it. And being that we are currently in September, which means November is around the corner, even though I'm more focused on October. So if you are an Australian, tell me, During November, during the Spring Racing Carnival, do you go to the TAB and do you bet on the horses? Do you have a nice little barbecue with friends and family where you all, you know, pick which horse you think is going to win? Or have you ever actually been to the Melbourne Cup? I personally have not. I think pretty much everybody in my family has been but me, but that's fine because I don't really want to go. But comment down below, let me know. And as always, thank you to my patrons, and until next time, bye.